leave, get out of here. When the old rule may say, what will people think? I should stick this job out. I've only been here 2 months. I'll look flaky. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Intuition does not explain itself. It invites you. The saboteurs like to argue. They like to debate club. But can you feel the difference? Intuition and matter of factness and the invitation, it feels expansive. It feels like, what if I thought about this in a different way? Where saboteurs tend to feel very constricted. They feel like, nope, this is the rule and this is the way we have to go. Welcome to Intuition, Your Joy Compass. This is the podcast where intuition gets embodied and joy leads the way. This is where we integrate your humanness and your soul. They don't have to compete and they don't have to work against each other. Your soul comes in with joy. Your human self wants to learn joy. It just makes sense to merge them. I'm Vicki Baird, your intuitive guide, and also your wisdom-led mindset coach. And I want to bring the truth that you do not have to transcend your human experience to feel lit up and to feel aligned. You need to integrate it. And that is what we will do here. Thank you for joining me this week. How's your summer going? It's hot here in the Northeast, and it's been beautiful. We've had a perfect amount of ridiculously hot sunshine and rain. So the gardens are very happy. And I am grateful that we are not shoveling snow and trying to remain present in all of that. And also exploring what having fun looks like and living up the summer, because I'm so grateful to live somewhere with seasons, but soon enough we will be inside. And well, we don't have to be inside all the time. We definitely get out when it's cold every day, but still enjoying the vitamin D and making up my rules for how fun I can have this season and changing other rules that I've been living by without consciousness. And that's what this week is about, is whose rules are you living by? I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and, just considering the idea of the previous podcast, Recovery Discovery, that if we spend so much time looking backwards, we spend so much time in the rearview mirror rather than, okay, where am I right here, right now? And how am I moving forward with what I know from then? And that, of course, made me think about families, both my family of origin and then the family I raised with Howard. And neither one of them are perfect, because that doesn't exist. I'm sure yours wasn't either. But every family has rules. Some are spoken, some are unspoken. Spoken? Some are unspoken. But what is going on? Some are unspoken. But the most fascinating part is most of us are walking around at our ripe old ages still living by the rules nobody expected us to follow, at least this far into our lifetime. Because I don't know about you, but I don't think my parents were actually thinking about who I was going to be as an adult. They just didn't have that forward-thinking mentality. It was more of a survival home. And I have realized recently that I make so many decisions because they feel familiar, because I, on some level, really appreciate the boundaries of which we were raised in, where manners count, and you better work hard, and those kind of moral lessons, I guess. But I'm also thinking about how times change and therefore the rules change. I was saying to someone the other day that she has young kids. And I said to her, your kids are at some of the most fun ages that I remember. And yeah, I'm still so grateful I'm not in that time of life right now. I'm so grateful. Hey, sometimes the Animals drive me up my tree. I can't even imagine having humans that I have to be responsible for right now. But we all inherit some invisible rules, and I'm wondering if you're operating from some of those right now. I mean, I'm assuming you're human and you're listening to this. AI might not have this problem, but humans are going to be listening or be operating by invisible rules because our brain just holds on to so much of it. Like, don't cry, don't make waves. Somebody else's happiness is more important. I mentioned work harder. I don't know that my father ever said this, but I remember watching him do that, and he was the only income in our house. So I remember that, and even when he was on disability for a decade, like, I remember that he had a tackle shop and he would do odd jobs and things like that. So that work harder definitely got in. Don't ask for help. Hoo-wee. I am still living this one. I'm aware of it and I'm allowing, and it's still kind of difficult, right? Be grateful. That is one that I raised my kids with. I very often would say, "What are you grateful for? Can we just be grateful?" Because, you know, my late husband was kind of a look to the negative side. And I thought, maybe I should look at this and counter it and help the kids see that there are different ways to do things. Don't be too much. Oh my goodness. I heard that quite often. Don't be too smart. Don't be so fresh. That one probably tracks, but don't be too energetic. I can't think of the others. Don't be too successful. That was one that some of us have heard, like, you don't want the person next to you feeling bad about themselves or what they haven't accomplished, and, like, don't be a braggadocious. I guess that goes with, like, don't outshine others, but don't trust your intuition. I remember saying to my mom, I was seeing spirits and I was experiencing some of that energy, and she said, "Oh, we don't talk about that here." We don't agree with that, and that was just the end of the conversation. My parents were from Maine. We didn't talk about much. So, none of the rules that we have make someone bad unless there's abuse there, but most of them I get were survival strategies. I challenged my parents sometimes by being the quiet one. I challenged them because they didn't quite know what to do with me because I just went away. I would just go sign up for something at school to do, or I would go work for someone else. I just disappeared. So sometimes they didn't know what to do with that. But they were in some kind of survival mechanism, week to week, day to day, and I truly do believe that most parents are doing the best. I've actually said to Mike, who has not raised kids, when he starts to say something about his mom, I will say to him, uh-uh. You don't get to talk about the parenting experience. You could talk about your child experience, being a child of this parent. You do not get to talk about what it's like to be a parent. It doesn't translate. I had somebody tell me one time, "I understand because I raise a dog." And I said, "Oh, we're gonna leave this right here. I'm gonna walk away from this conversation because raising children's hard. Try raising stepchildren as well." And not to be in comparison, but they aren't the same. I know that your dog is your baby. I respect that. I know the heart connection of an animal feeling like it did come from your loins, but it's not the same as raising a human and having to launch them out into the world. So this isn't about blame. This is about actually helping ourselves to become more aware and recognize what are some of the rules that are playing in my head that I just don't apply or they don't make sense right now. That's why I love the positive intelligence and the saboteur work, because it doesn't make something bad. It just says, hey, let's pay attention to what might be an old rule that's rolling around in there and that's become automatic, and see if it works, because some of them will work. I do want to keep having manners. I do wanna see people as equals, as my mom was very emphatic about. I do want to counter racism and ageism and all of that. I do. That's important. But I also want to recognize that if I have the pleaser saboteur going on, if everybody else is okay, then I'll be okay. Truth be told, I don't have that one. I want everybody to feel good about themselves, but I don't feel responsible for any of you. But some people do. They just want everyone to be okay, and then I'll be okay at end of the line. Hyperachiever, very familiar with that one. I'm valuable because of how I serve or what I produce, and I'm of service, so therefore I must be in service. No, no, not having that either. Your controller may say, if I stay in charge, I stay safe. So I better just be the one that does all this. I can't delegate. I have to be I have to be conducting all of it. And your hypervigilant may say, if I can anticipate every problem, no one's going to get hurt. Everybody's going to be okay. That feeds into the pleaser, right? Hypervigilant and pleaser tend to pair up. But if I can anticipate every problem, everything's going to be okay. That's not possible, right? You can't anticipate traffic. I got stuck in traffic the other night and I was like, well, here I am. I'm just going to take my time, let people merge, and I'll get home safely. But if I had hypervigilant, excuse me, I might have beat myself up. My judge might have come in and beat myself up for not realizing that they would be doing road work at night because it's so blessed hot right now. Stickler would be like, if I do everything perfectly, I'll finally feel like I'm enough. There is no perfection. So you're not going to do that. But these are aspects of yourself. These are saboteurs that showed up as a result of some of the conditioning and the rules and stuff that happened in growing up. And that's okay. It's okay. None of them are character flaws. They are brilliant adaptations. Your system, your brain, keeping you safe. It's important to pay attention to the rules of the people around you, because if you don't, you might get kicked out of the cave, right? We still have that old Neanderthal thinking in our brain. We have not evolved far enough in our chemistry to get rid of that yet. It hasn't been enough million years. So, but you can do it consciously and you can do it with awareness. So when my avoider shows up, say I'm scrolling when I'm supposed to be here doing podcasts, or I need to get the lawn mowed, but I will find 85 other jobs to do instead. And listen, the riding lawnmower still scares me a little bit, not the machinery of it, but the fact that I live on a very slopey property still scares me a little bit. So yeah, I do find myself avoiding getting out there and getting it done, but eventually I will catch on that it's my avoider that's in charge. And I'll be like, "Oh, you little bugger." But I need to go out and do it because the lawn needs to be done. It's been very hot. We've had a lovely amount of rain. That makes the grass grow. None of these are character flaws. No matter what's going on inside you, they aren't character flaws. And I would love for you to start being aware of your thinking without judging it. Let it be the information that's giving you some feedback so that you can acknowledge that, oh, I'm still running an old program. Let me see how I can shift that. They're brilliant. They've kept you safe up until this point, but do they still serve you? That's really the question here. And by being able to identify what is the thought process that's going on there, you can transition a little bit easier to your intuitive side, because intuition has very little interest in our old conditioning. It's a more matter of fact side of us that will actually say rest when the old rule says work harder, or it'll say you need to speak up here when the old rule says don't rock the boat. It also says leave, get out of here, when the old rule may say, what will people think? I should stick this job out. I've only been here 2 months. I'll look flaky. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Intuition does not explain itself. It invites you. The saboteurs like to argue. They like to debate club. But can you feel the difference? Intuition and matter of factness and the invitation, it feels expansive. It feels like, what if I thought about this in a different way? Where saboteurs tend to feel very constricted. They feel like, nope, this is the rule and this is the way we have to go. And one of the greatest skills we can develop is noticing the difference between the two, because again, the saboteurs live in your left brain, intuition lives in your right. And when you learn where it's coming from and you become that observation and the witness to your life, when you learn where it's coming from, what it will also do is help you to pause and then shift from that left brain to the right brain. And in that pause where you practice the pause, it actually moves neural pathways over to your right brain in operation sense. And then they will become the stronger programming in there. Okay. So it's, yes, there's some old rules that are applying, but you're allowed to create new rules and new guidelines and new ways of being. And the brain is so willing to change and shift and grow. And yet it takes some effort in that. There's no magic wand. Here to tell you, no magic wand. There's no placement of the planets that's going to make it shift immediately. There's no weekend retreat, although you can have awarenesses and you can have new practices. You still have to do the work. You still have to put in a little bit of effort of observation. So one of my new rules might look like joy is productive. Well, I know when I'm in the flow, I have a day that I just pound out so much work. And I get there by first pausing and saying, okay, what is it about this day that's going to feel fabulous? That's going to feel amazing. And most of the time it will be, oh, I just want to do those things that I've thought about 5 times since I got up this morning. I just want to pound them out. So if you're someone who does like productivity, good for you. Don't put too much weight on this, but joy can be absolutely your gas pedal. And that's what I've decided for my life is, I've worked really hard for my brain to support me and not be sabotaging all the time. So my new rule is when I'm in flow and when I'm in joy, everything takes care of itself. It gets done. A rule for you could be rest is responsible. So many times I have to tell my CEOs that their time of rest is what's allowing them to run their company, run their department, their lives in a way that things work out because they chose to rest. And yes, we use block booking for that. We will put it on the calendar that these 2 hours are only for that. And I tend to do it first thing in the morning because you know how the day can kind of take you away. But I'm not someone who wants to exercise first thing in the morning, except for, walking the dog. I just no, until coffee is in me. No, it's not happening. I used to teach a 5:30 cycle class, and I don't even know how I did that. Luckily, it wasn't for very long. But so my workout, if I'm not at the farm, happens at 6 o'clock at night because that's when it works for me. And that's when I can take care and I can really focus. Now, one of my good friends, she has to do it first thing in the morning because if she waits to the end of the day, she's just not going to do it. She's not going to do it. She has a very active job and there's just no energy left. And that's fine. But that's part of being responsible to yourself too, and your rule can be I know myself well enough and I work out at these times, or I rest at these times, or I meditate at this time, or I read a book, or I weed my garden. It's important for you to know who you are well enough that you can be consistent about carving out that time for yourself. If you can have curiosity with this, it'll beat certainty every time. That's a good actually, that's not a bad rule. Curiosity over certainty. Like, if you're not certain about something, don't pretend you are. Your new rule could be, "I'm curious. I'm wondering why or how this could work out." And then it would be lovely if you had some kind of motto, rule, creed, mission statement of, "I don't need permission to become more myself." Because you don't. You are the adult here. And maybe as part of that, your intuition gets to vote, and it gets to vote often. And if you change your mind, that's cool. That could be a good rule. I'm allowed to change my mind. I don't want to. There have been times where Mike will say in the morning, "So you wanna do this kind of workout tonight?" And I'll say, "Yeah, that sounds good." And by the afternoon, I just don't want to. It doesn't feel right. I'll suggest a different one. I'm not gonna completely bail, but changing my mind is fine. Maybe by the afternoon, my back is sore, and stretching and doing some other kind of workout other than, walking lunges. I'm always going to change my mind on walking lunges. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. But that's not failure. That's my prerogative. And you can love people without carrying them. That could be a good rule for some of you people pleasers. I can love you, but I'm not going to carry you. And when you honestly like yourself, success is far more enjoyable. When you get to the end of the day and you're like, "That was fun," it's much more enjoyable. I would love for you to write down a few rules that you would like to have. Don't worry about the ones that you're letting go of. Don't worry about the ones that you might be carrying from childhood that no longer apply. Don't worry about those. Write down 3 rules that you would like to live by at this time in your life. You get to edit them. You get to change them. You get to modify however it works for you. You absolutely get to do that. Okay. So you have to start somewhere though. Write them down. 3 rules. And I just love to share this with you. It's going to be a shorter episode, but I just love to share this with you. I don't think we're meant to spend our life rebelling against the past. Fighting it, like, "Put up your dukes, I'm gonna prove that you sucked, and look where I am today." I think we're meant to become conscious enough to be aware of it, but to choose what comes with us. Like, what do we want to bring along with us? What do we want to what is that called? Bedazzle. What do we want to bedazzle in our life that we get to choose what we've learned or what matters to us, what our values are. Okay? Some rules deserve to stay. Integrity, kindness, generosity, humor, being in wonder of being human. Others have just reached their expiration date, and that's beautiful too. When you know that, it's such a gift to yourself. So, what belief or what rule have you been living by that no one expects you to carry anymore? What belief or rule have you been living with or by that nobody expects you to carry anymore? Okay. And then you have a beautiful couple weeks till I talk to you again, unless you'd like to schedule a session. And remember that being human is this incredible adventure that we're on, that our soul was just so excited to come into the form that you're walking around in. Your soul said, "That's the perfect body for me. I'll be there. Let's go see what we can get up to." And then have fun with that. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Joy Compass. I am so grateful you are here, and I'd just like to leave you with what I would consider a listening agreement. By listening to this podcast, you agree to stay open, curious, and connected to your own intuition. You agree to take what resonates and throw out the rest into your body, into your breath, and into your lived experience. You agree to honor your humanity, trust your soul's voice, and let joy guide your next step. This is not passive listening, and this is not toxic positivity. This is conscious receiving. Thank you so much for being here.